I want to talk about the bloodline versus modern law. And I know there's been a lot of controversy over President Barack Obama. Is he a citizen or a non-citizen? Well, we know his father was a Kenyan. His name was Barack Hussein Obama Sr., born in Naioma, Kenya, a Kenyan economist who came to study in the U.S. on a scholarship. His mother's name was Stanley Ann Dunham, born in Wichita, Kansas, a white American anthropologist. Well, this is what the records are saying. But his mother married a man named Barry Suratoro, an Indonesian, and his parents moved to Indonesia when he was age 6, and he lived there for a few years. And during that time, he was registered in school under the name Barry Suratoro, a common practice in Indonesia where children often take their stepfather's surname for school enrollment. However, this is no legal record that he was formally adopted or had his name permanently changed. So what is the confusion about Kenya? Well, his father, like I said, is from Kenya, and many confuse his heritage with his place of birth. False reports, some early promotional bios like born a literary agent in the 1990s, incorrectly stated he was born in Kenya, a mistake later admitted and corrected by the U.S. agency. Political agenda. The birther movement, led in part by figures like President Trump, pushed false claims that Obama was not a U.S. citizen, despite overwhelming legal evidence for contrary. So let's talk about it. Because they say if you're born in the United States, that means you're a natural born citizen. That's what the Babylon law says. But let's look at the biblical and traditional bloodline. The patrilineal identity. In the Bible and many indigenous cultures, a child's tribe or identity comes from the father. For example, in the scripture, tribal lineage, like Yehuda, Levi, is always traced to the father's seed, not the mother. This means if Barack Obama's father was Kenyan by heritage, he would be considered Kenyan in the traditional or biblical sense, part of the Luo tribe, perhaps. So from a cultural and ancestral standpoint, yes, Obama would be a Kenyan, Lu, by bloodline through his father. But modern law, national law, legal citizenship, every nation sets its own rules about citizenship. Here's how it works in Obama's case. United States law, just solely right of the soil. Anyone born on U.S. soil, regardless of parentage, is a natural born U.S. citizen. Obama was born in Hawaii in 1961, so under the 14th Amendment, he is a U.S. citizen by birth. Kenyan law, at the time of his birth in 1961, Kenya was still under British colonial rule. Kenya became independent in 1963. Obama Sr. was a British subject and his citizenship laws were complicated. After independence, a Kenyan citizenship could be passed from father to child, but only if the child applied for it, especially if he was born abroad. The results, Barack Obama could have claimed Kenyan citizenship, but he did not apply for it or hold dual citizenship as an adult. Kenya's constitution later revoked automatic citizenship for those born abroad unless formal steps were taken. So, if you're asking me the question bloodline versus legal status works, they are not the same. Biblically and tribally, a man is what his father is. Legally, a person is what the government recognizes based on laws, which often ignore ancestral identity. If nations follow Torah-based patrilineal identity, Obama would be Kenyan. But under Western legal frameworks, citizenship is more about place of birth and legal process, and not the bloodline.